Day 5, binary boarding. You board your plane only to discover a new problem. You dropped your boarding pass. You aren't sure which seat is yours, and all of the flight attendants are busy with the flood of people that suddenly made it through passport control. You write a quick program to use your phone's camera to scan all of the nearby boarding passes, your puzzle input. Perhaps you can find your seat through process of elimination. Instead of zones or groups, this airline uses binary space partitioning to seat people. A seat might be specified like FB, FB, B, F, F, R, L, R, where F means front, B means back, L means left, and R means right. The first 7 characters will be F or B. These specify exactly one of the 128 rows on the plane, numbered 0 through 127. Each letter tells you which half of a region the given seat is in. Start with the whole list of rows. The first letter indicates whether the seat is in the front or the back, and front is 0 through 63 and back is 64 through 127. The next letter indicates which half of that region the seat is in, and so on until you're left with exactly one row. This makes sense. For example, consider just the first 7 characters of this. Start by considering the whole range, 0 through 127. F means to take the upper half, keeping rows 0 through 63. B means to take the upper half, keeping rows 32 through 63. F means to take the lower half. Gotcha. F means to take the lower half. B means to take the upper half. B means to keep these rows, and finally you get F row 44 through 45, and then the final F keeps the lower of the two, 44. The last 3 characters will be either L or R. These specify exactly one of the 8 columns of seats on the plane, numbered 0 through 7. The same process as above proceeds again, this time with only 3 steps. L means to keep the lower half, while R means to keep the upper half. That's really straightforward. For example, consider just the last 3 characters. Start by considering the whole range, columns 0 through 7. R means to take the upper half, L means to take the lower half. The final R keeps the upper of the 2 columns, upper of the 2, column 5. So decoding this reveals that the seat is at row 44, column 5. Every seat also has a unique seat ID. Multiply the row by 8, then add the column. In this example, the seat has ID 44 times 8 plus 5. Here are some other boarding passes, row, column, seat ID. As a sanity check, look through your list of boarding passes. What is the highest seat ID on a boarding pass? So I think where we're going to start is pretty straightforward. I need a method, and what this is going to do is it's going to convert something into a seat, basically. And what I want to pass to this is I want to pass a boarding pass, right? So maybe what I actually want is seat location. That works for me. So I'd have a subject, and what I'm doing right now is I'm building my RSpec so that I know what I'm looking for. So my subject here would be described class, which in this case is going to be day 5. What I've done is I've created some like base classes that include solution, and those give me some helper methods so that I can navigate through the process of creating my advent of code solutions really easily and quickly. So then I'll do new. Each of these should have an input and a part. For this one, these aren't really going to be important, so I'm just going to have my input be empty, and my part here is going to be 1. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do dot seat location, and I'm going to pass in a boarding pass. That should work. And then what I'll do down here is I'll say it, and this is going to be my block, is expected dot to equal, and what exactly is it that I want? I think what I want to start with is this number right here, 357. Yeah, that's reasonable. So the result that we want from calling seat location on boarding pass, and we'll say context with pass 1. And what I'll do is I'll pass in my boarding pass here so that it knows which you know, boarding pass to call this on. So we'll say let boarding pass. Then I'll add my curly braces, and then I'll just come right over here and I'll steal this one. Yep, that looks right. And I will pass it into here. So the result that I want is I want this to equal 357, and right now it doesn't. First of all, seat location doesn't even exist. So let's get started on that. I'm gonna have a def seat location, and the thing that I'm going to pass in is a boarding pass. Now we know that we're starting with a range of 0 to 127. I think what I want to do is I want to say boarding pass dot each do, and what this is going to be is this is just going to be a character. I like direction, so let's see, maybe I start with kind of like an, I don't know if I want to start with a range, but maybe I do. I'm kind of thinking about this, because what I could do is I could start with like a row, and this is a range, and I just keep eliminating halves of the range until I get to nothing. And that could work. I kind of want to play around with doing this with math though. And this will be, wait, is it row or is it, what is it? Column. Okay, so column is the short one. So we'll say at column equals 0 to 8. And what I can do is something really simple. I can say case direction, and then I can say when it is forward, when it is backwards, when it is left, which is going to be lower, and when it is R, which is going to be forward. And inside each of these, what I can do is I can just say when it is F, I can say at row. I'm sure there's like an array method in Ruby that'll allow me to like take a portion of the string. That slice looked promising. What is slice? And this is a destructive slice, so it's going to replace this one. Deletes the elements given by an index, optionally up to length elements or by a range. Right. So if I do slice 1, that's going to give me B, and A is going to be AC. If I do -1, that takes out C. And if I do range, it looks like it returns a new array. Returns the deleted objects, or nil if the index is out of range. So it looks like this doesn't take everything up until that point. But we can use a range to do that. So maybe that's how we'll do it? I could also do a delete if, but that feels like a lot, right? I'm just gonna scroll through this, and if that doesn't work, we'll use slice. So I've got all, any, append, assoc, bsearch, clear, collect, compact, combination, concat, count, cycle, deconstruct. Deconstruct? You don't have a description. Weird. I don't know what deconstruct does. All right, it didn't tell me though, so I'm gonna move on. Let's see, difference, dig, drop, drop while, each index. Include index, insert, inspect, intersection join, keep if. I feel like slice is gonna be the best one here because it's literally like, take this section off. And I don't see anything else that really looks like that. Yeah, I don't see anything else that really screams like I take a chunk of an array off. What's this, unshift? another one. Unshift array, prepends objects to the front of self, moving other objects upwards. See shift for the opposite effect. Okay, so we don't want that one at all. Then yeah, let's take a look at this. We're gonna do row dot slice exclamation mark. I'm also going to require pry in this one, which I should be used to me doing. And then I'll just say, what is row's length? Row dot length, and we'll make that a range. I can use parentheses for a range, right? And let's see, we'll do 0 dot dot row dot length. Then I want to binding dot pry. And what we'll do is we'll say rspec, give me my copy relative path, give me this. All right, so what is this? Undefined method each for string. Rude. Normally that works. I've seen it work before. String iterable. No, not you, in Ruby. Rude. I was sure that there was a way to do this. Let's see, each car. Look at that. I love Ruby. Ruby always has something for me. Each car. And I come down here and I run this again. No failures, and it doesn't go into binding.pry, which surprises me. Undefined method length for 0 to 127, which is a range. Ooh. Let's learn more about ranges in Ruby. Lovely. Cover each end. First hash include inspect last max member min size step. Oh, you know what? I was treating this as an array, but it is actually still a range. Do you know what I could do though? I could just to array this. Let's see, undefined method to array. Is it 2A? I could have sworn there was something like this. Ooh, yay, that made it to the binding.pry. I can tell because this is processing. And the automated one can't actually handle that. Lovely, so I'm gonna open this up a little bit more. Here we go, so we can get a look at it. Well, that's annoying. Why don't you tell me what direction is? That is currently F. Now, why don't you tell me what boarding pass is? Okay, so we got that F on the first one. And most importantly, what is row after that slice? And row is empty, which makes perfect sense because I haven't divided this by anything. So the range covers the entire thing. So I'm going to quit. I'm going to exit, exit, exit exclamation mark. Thank you. And then I'm going to step in here and I'm going to say row.length divided by 2. Now, is this the upper or the lower? Let me check that. So F means to take the lower half. So if that's the lower half, all we have to do is reverse these. We just say, I'd like to go from row.length 2 to -1. Let's try that again. And this time I want to focus on a specific example, so I'm going to call specifically line 37. Oh, I should have left this up. Okay, that worked better than the first time did. So here's this row.slice. What is at row right now? Okay, so row is currently the upper half. Ooh, row is currently the upper half. Good to know, good to know. I think I had it right the first time, but I now know that I can just swap these. So I just take this and I drop it in B, and I take this and I swap it around. Where I just say, you go up to this, and you go up to this. Now there was one thing that I forgot to check on when I did this, and that was our limits. So if I do binding not pry here, and I call this again, it's gonna take me directly to this point. And if I look at row, you go from 65 all the way up. Do you go to 127 or 126? You go all the way up to 127. If I look at this, yes, F should keep 0 through 63. Oh, did I reverse it again? I reversed it again. All right, 0 through 63. Well, this doesn't actually help me figure out whether it's going to do that. Quit. Exit. Okay. Reverse these again. This is why we write test cases. Here we go. I'm gonna take that. And what I'll do next is I'll confirm this one. And actually there's some B's in here, so I can just do a binding not pry and check that it's collecting the right one, because it's gonna step me through like every single option here. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit further. There we go. So if I look at row, I have 0 through 63. And if I look at this, I should have 0 through 63. Next, I should have 32 through 63. So let's go over here. We're gonna say quit, and that's gonna take us to the next one, which is our B. And then I'm gonna say, what is at row? And at row is 33 through 63. Is that correct? No, it should be 32 through 63. It should be 32 through 63. So it's just this minus 1. I wrap this in another parentheses. This is so many nested parentheses. Let me try adding a space here to make that a little clearer. There we go. Okay, so we have row dot length divided by 2 minus 1. And that should slice like one fewer off. All right, now what I'll do is I'll exit this completely and let's test this again. So F, this one looked right, but if I look at the row, if I look at the row, we have 0 through 63. 0 through 63. Next we should have 32 through 63. All right. Let's scroll to the bottom of this. Q, row 32 through 63. Perfect. And if I call this again and I say at row, I have 32 through 47. And if I look at this, 32 through 47. Next one is 40 through 47. Let me pull this up a little bit more. And we'll say at row 40 through 47. Is that right? 40 through 47. Next we'll have 44 through 47. 44 through 47. Perfect. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Okay, at row 44 and 45. 44. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Now what I need to do is I need to handle my right, left, right. And this right, left, right is going to operate exactly the same way. It's just going to operate on some smaller numbers. Now, if F is take the lower, let's see. R means to take the upper half. L means to take the lower half. So if L is take the lower, then I think it's this one. And if you're the upper, then that means you're this one. And what I'm gonna do at the end here is I'm gonna do a binding dot pry. And this is not supposed to be row, this is supposed to be column. Column, and we'll save it. And we're just gonna run this whole thing. And at the end, I'm gonna ask myself a very simple question. What is at row? Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. What are you doing here? Did I save this? I saved this. This is odd. If I open this up, what do you see? Oh, each direction. That's right, that's right, that's right. I'll exit this. And what I want to do at the end of this is I want to take this binding.pry and I want to put it outside of this direction. There we go. Give me my solution, expand this, and now tell me what is my at row, 44, what is my at column? Nothing. What do you mean nothing? What? You can't be nothing. Let's see. The final R keeps the upper. So R takes the upper, L takes the lower, R takes the upper. What? Okay. If this is gonna be a problem. Yeah, I know. You're very upset. I understand that. I'm just gonna I'll do the same thing I did for the first form where I put a binding.pry here, and I put a binding.pry here, and I confirm that it did what I expected it to do. Let's see. 37. If this is here, I'm just gonna pull this up. So I should be at this R right here, and I want to know, I'm using at row length. I'm using row for my length, aren't I? Yes, I am. How about we say column? And right here we'll say column. And I'll remove these binding.pry. You know what? We'll just comment these out. I do not have faith in my solutions or the code that I'm capable of writing at midnight. All right, we should be at the last one. Give me at row 44. Give me at column 5. Yes! All right. Ha 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 ha. You weren't expecting that, were you? Now I'm gonna remove this. Remove this. And I'm just gonna do at column. We'll do a 0. I could do a dot first here, but I just want to do a 0 and make my life simple. Times 44 plus, no wait, times 8. Plus at row 0. And this still doesn't work. Ah, that's because this is supposed to be row, and this is supposed to be column. Yay! It passed! So we have the correct value from our boarding pass, and our binary tree should now be successful. And then what is the highest seat ID on a boarding pass? That makes sense. So then here in my process, do I know like what a list of boarding passes looks like? It looks like this. I'm gonna copy this. I don't have a list of these though. I do have these though. I should probably make a few extra specs, just because I have that option. All right, let me tab in context with pass 2. Why am I doing this? I can just copy this. I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna say, hey, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. No, enter. This one is enter, And then this combination right here is this, and it's 5, 6, 7. Let's see. With pass 2, paste this here, 5, 6, 7. With this here, 1, 1, 9. And you can actually see as I save them that they're validating and making sure that they're correct. I have auto run my test cases turned on. That's been a real savior with us. What was that again? 820. So I come in here and I say 820. This is pass 4. This is pass 3. And voila! I have now confirmed all of the passes that I have access to. I think for process, I'm just gonna make my life easier. And I'm just gonna do and max do boarding pass. And I'm just gonna say seat location boarding pass. And yay! And what did it give me? Got nil. Well, I wasn't expecting that one. I got nil. Interesting. So if I do a binding.pry right here, and I'm gonna run 10. What is my at input? My at input is nothing? Oh, I haven't pasted anything into this yet. Ah, that should be better. I'll just exit this, and then over here I'll remove this binding.pry, save this. What is your result? Got FB, FFFFF, BRRL. This makes sense. Yep. I could do this one of two ways. I could modify this so that that max actually returns whatever the value is. Or I can make my life easy because I built myself some methods and I can just call it on the winner twice. And what number did you get? 270. Okay. Process here, if I have an input, I'm gonna do like 3 of these as an input. Because like I can just take this and make this my input. Yeah. And then I would know that my answer is 820. Like I can make my own specs. I don't need you to make specs for me. So if I say this is 820, and my input becomes this pass, this pass. I'm using this right here. What it does is it converts everything inside there into an array of strings. It only works though if you don't have any spaces in your strings, because that's what it uses to determine whether or not there's space between them. Let's see. Let's see if that worked. Flawless. Flawless. That makes me very confident in my answer of 270. That's not the right answer. If you're stuck, make sure you're using the full input data. There are also some general tips on the About page. Huh. I was feeling very confident in my solution, but now I'm not so much. This makes me wonder, like, is this an issue with how I'm interpreting this, or this an issue with, like, because I'm just doing input.max do, right? Like, that's very difficult to get wrong. And I have also, this is another thing that's kind of throwing me off. I've actually run this with this process and gotten the answer that I'm expecting. But let's run this on 10. let's see what's happening here. So what I want to look at is I want to look at input. This is an array of all of the boarding passes. Hello, Ruby. Bye, Ruby. And that feels right. That looks very right. If I take one of these, I will admit that 270 felt very small. And if I do seat, location, this, I get 700. So right off the bat, that is not the max. What happens if I don't use this? Ooh, have I written max wrong? Max. Yes. Where is max? Max. Returns the object in enum with the maximum value. The first form assumes all objects implement comparable. The second uses the block to return A less than or greater than B. This is probably my problem. First of all, I didn't pass an A and a B into here. And second of all, I didn't use this. I can do max by though, and it looks like this is what I actually wanted, where I'm just basically like, here is the value, pull me the max using that, instead of doing A.length, B.length. Yes. Return the object in enum that gives the maximum value from the given block. Okay, so all I need to do is I need to add a max by, save this, and this will no longer be 270. I'm going to remove this binding.pry because I've now confirmed that my input is being parsed correctly. Aha! Got 822. That is higher than the 700 that we saw a second ago. Let's see, so that was 822. Yay! So that was correct. Let's continue to part 2. Ding! The fasten seatbelt signs have turned on. Time to find your seat. It's a completely full flight, so your seat should be the only missing boarding pass in your list. However, there's a catch. Some of the seats at the very front and back of the plane don't exist on this aircraft, so they'll be missing from your list as well. Your seat wasn't at the very front or back though. The seats with IDs +1 and -1 from yours will be in your list. What is the ID of your seat? Awesome. Okay, so I already have a max here. I think I think what I'm creating here is a range with one that's missing. That is a very interesting thing to find. Because these boarding passes are in any sort of order. And I would need to find the only one that doesn't have one that is one greater and one less than it. Find index, find all. Returns an array containing all elements of enum for which the given block returns a true value. The find all and select methods are aliases. There's no performance benefit to either. I doubt I'm going to find a missing method or something like that. I wonder, filter map returns a new array containing the truthy result, everything except false or nil, of running the block for every element in enum. I mean, I could iterate over the map multiple times and say, does this include the previous, does this include the next? Or I can sort the whole thing. And I could do, oh, I wonder if I could do an each with index in order to find the right one. Ooh, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I can do a sort. Let's see, or I can do a sort by. That feels easier. Sort by. Yes, that should work. So we're gonna say if part 1 and that's an at. And this is something that I've set in that solution file that I mentioned before. You can find the solution file and other information about like how I'm implementing these things on the GitHub, which will be linked in the description below. What if we just call this pass? Right? And we say if part 1, do this, else, let's see, at input dot sort by, well, let's just map it. Like, let's replace it with the seat values. Map do boarding pass. Like, we'll just replace all of them with these because we don't need them afterwards. And we can actually do that for part 1 and part 2. Let's call this at locations. And I'll just say input.map by seat location. And I'll swap these out for curly braces. That way, at the end of this, we can just do a nice little dot sort. And then I can do if part 1, well, I can do return at locations dot last if that part equals 1. Yay! And I can see that it works because all of these still pass. Let's do a nice little context part 2. I don't know what the answer is to this one, and they didn't give me any test cases, did they? No, they didn't. That's highly unhelpful. Alright, I'm looking for, in this one, a missing index. I've sorted my list of locations. So what I'm really looking for is any of these at locations dot, can I do like a find sort of thing? Find. And can I pass a block? Let's see. If none equals nil, object block passes each entry into enum to block, returns the first for which block is not false. My challenge here is I don't have the index. So I can't get the previous value and the next value without the index. Maybe I'd be better off just doing a locations.each. There's an each with index. And then what I do is I do pass or seat, comma, you know what, we can call these seats. No, it's fine. We'll call it locations. And then we'll say index. Let me check each with index. Each with index, args, object, I. So that I is going to be the index. So I know I have this correct. And what I'll do is I'll just say seat, and what is this? We're writing our own if statement, aren't we? If seat is not equal to at locations dot index -1. If my seat is not equal to locations dot index -1, return seat. Yeah, so we'll go through the list. My seat is not the first seat, it's not the last seat. So we'll go through that and we'll say, hey, this first seat, is it equal to locations.index minus 1? I want to binding.pry this. I'm going to build a spec for this, and I know exactly how I'm going to do it. This thing right here is how I'm going to do it. I've got my context part 2. I'm gonna let my input be similar but not the same. So if I take this and I convert this into what is the next one up? So the next one up would be L, and the next one up would be, let's see, maybe RR? Maybe? Let me check. I'll do a binding.pry here and I'll see what happens. Let's see. We would say it is expected dot to equal, I don't know, let's say 270. This is not gonna pass, but I just kind of want to see what happens. I'm gonna quit out of this, and then I'm going to say rspec solution, and I'm looking for whatever is on line 33. Excellent, so let's pull this up so we can take a look at this. So what is my seat? 356. What is my index? It should be 0, that's good. What are my locations? My locations are 356, 357, and 359. So that 100% worked, and this should be 358. I can actually remove this binding.pry. Undefined method minus for enumerator index. Ah! Locations index. Expected 358, got 356. If seat is equal to this, and index not equal to 0. What did you get? Got 357. What? 357. Okay, clearly I'm doing something wrong. Let's do a binding.pry, and let's see what that is. If my location is not equal to... Oh, I never actually exited, so I actually can check this. So what is seat not equal to this? This is false. That's good. That's what we're supposed to do. What is this? Oh, yeah, run that. That's true. Really? What is this? Oh, I actually went false, don't I? No. That's 355. And my seat is 356. What is my at locations index? That is my current location, isn't it? Yeah, what I actually wanted was this -1. If my seat is not equal to the previous index plus 1, and my index is not equal to 0. Alright, let's try that again. And I'll comment out the binding.pry. Expected 358, got 359. I'm looking for the missing number, but I'm returning the seat number. Yes. So if I do that, it should work, right? Yeah. If my seat number is not equal to the previous seat plus 1, give me my seat number -1 because that's my seat. Yes. True! Perfect. This is why I write test cases, because I can't code without them. Now, if I go all the way up here to part 2, then I say it is expected dot 2 equals 0. What is my answer? My answer is 705. So you think 705 is my seat. I hope you are correct. Hey, that's the right answer. Awesome. Thank you all so much for watching. I have a Discord where we chat about advent of code. There's a private leaderboard that we're all part of. I've got branches and like the PR for this one. The PR for this one is actually going to be merged with 4 because I made some changes to like the underlying structure of what I do for advent of code, and I mistakenly put it in a PR, which got my PR IDs mismatched from the puzzles, which I didn't think about before I did it that way, but I'm now thinking about. So yeah, this is going to be in the description, the PR for 4 and 5. All right. It's been really nice chatting and hanging out with y'all. Bye.